In this video we're going to continue looking at CSS, specifically something new called divisions. So by the end of this lesson you should know the difference between an ID and a class tag, and you will have used, well, both types. So what we're looking at today is called divisions. Specifically it's called a div tag. And what it does is it divides the document up into certain sections. So you remember from last week, we could change, like, say, the color of H1, and it would change all the H1s to like pink or whatever. And then you could change all the paragraphs to blue or whatever. But what if you wanted to, well, you could even change everything to pink or everything to blue if you use the body. But say you just wanted one heading and one paragraph to be pink, and another heading and another paragraph to be blue. That is where divisions comes in, and it lets you just divide the page up and assign CSS rules to the divisions rather than paragraphs. However, I know I keep saying division a lot, but hopefully it'll make sense once we start looking at examples. So first thing to remember is IDs can only be used once, but classes can be used as many times as you want. So IDs are good for like the top of a website, like the top banner. You're only going to use it once. Classes is something that you're going to use time and time again, like little text boxes or whatever. Again, hopefully it'll make more sense once we look at examples. A little tip to remember this is that an ID is something that uniquely identifies. So this kind of goes back to like when we're talking about databases, that it's a unique identifier. So if you have an ID, it's a unique identifier for you. This word just identifies something, and it's usually unique. So that's kind of one way to remember it. But let's get on to the actual examples. So an ID, this is how you do it. You make it, rather than doing body or P or H1 or whatever, you write hashtag and then whatever name you want. I've called it top because it's going to be the top of the website. So this is the CSS look, the way it looks in CSS at the top of the website, and this is how it's going to look in HTML. So we're going to chuck all the HTML we want to be light blue inside here, and it will look light blue because we've made that rule up here. So here's a bigger example. So we've got this sample page. I just realized my head's in the way, so what we'll do is I'm going to awkwardly go in the middle, okay? And maybe I can look over to whatever I'm talking about. So yeah, we've got there's a division here, that you'll see division div ID equals top, and we've put cats for adoption, which is an H1, and Jules the cat, which is an H2, both in this division. So it's opened up here and it's closed down here. And then in the CSS, in between the style tags, we've said make anything in the top ID blue, light blue. And that's what's happened. It's given it a background color of light blue, and it's kind of made like a little box around it. And that's what we want. I know it's not the prettiest site, but baby steps. You can make another ID. Where's my, yeah. So let's say you made one called bottom, and I've said the background color is khaki. Now here you can see div ID equals top, and then I've closed off the division. That's important because that will lead to big problems if you forget to close them off, because they'll all start to collide with each other. I'm not even sure what will happen then. And then I've made a space. You don't need to do the space, but I think it's good practice just to keep yourself right so you don't make mistakes and all that. And then I've made div ID bottom, so the bottom half of the website. And I've put everything, including the image, inside this division. So you'll notice how the background color goes around the image there. If you put this one line up, it would cut off at the image. You wouldn't be able to see the background color behind there. Maybe you want that, but for this example, I just did it to show that. So that's IDs. You use them once each. I knew I was going to use top once, and I knew I was going to use bottom once. Classes are just like, they're very similar. They might even be easier because you can use them as many times as you want, right? So the difference is rather than a hashtag, you've got a dot. And this looks exactly the same, but you write the word class instead of ID. So I've said block as if it's like a block of code, a block of color you want behind it. So so in my example, I've said dot block background color light blue, div class block, and I've put this bit in its own little block. You can see I've opened it here, closed it here, and then I've put this second bit in its own little block, and then I've put this one in its own little block as well. And I haven't put the image in anything. That's why there's nothing behind the image. And that's all that is. It's something I can reuse to make like a block of light blue text if I want to. You can mix these up. So let's say you had you wanted, like, I knew I was going to have one middle, but I wanted these two to be the same. I would then make this a class because I'm using them multiple times. So that is why, and then you can see it's class there, and I made this one an ID because I know I'm only going to use it once. So that's the middle one there. Now, if I'm being completely honest, right, middle, you could just write dot middle and make this div class equals middle, and it would work. It would still work. The reason we're doing this, if I'm being honest, I don't really understand the point of ID, because you could just use a class once and it'll work fine. It's just that the SQA need us to know the difference between a ID and a class. So that's why I'm teaching it. You just need to remember the difference, and it is a bit tricky to get in your head. Even now, I still make mistakes. I always do a dot, and then I always write ID, or I always write class and match it up with hashtag. It's a bit tricky to get used to, but here's to recap. The ID can be used once and it's a hashtag, and the class can be used multiple times and it's a dot. So let's look at the tasks related to it for this week. So if you go to the National 5 REPL team and go down to week 4, I'm just going to go over the first one. I might have a quick look at the other ones. I should probably move my face again. Right, so the first one, here's your task. It's step by step. If it appears like this on your screen, right, this is another language. It's similar to HTML called Markdown language. That's what I've been coding in all the tasks to make them look super pretty. I don't know if it's going to look like that on yours, but they've changed, they've made an update. If it does, just click preview, and then you'll be able to see the tasks down here, which I quite like actually. It just keeps everything separate, and then you can look at your code and still look at the tasks this way. Now, if you run the site as it is, I've done all the HTML, right? By the way, if the tasks disappear, just click on this tab here and they pop back up. So here's Jules the cat. There is no CSS added to that site yet. So the task is surround the H1 and H2 tags with the following code. So if you go to H1 and we just write div ID equals top. I don't know why that's indented. And then here, make sure to close it. You go /div. Now this is its own thing. It's its own ID. But nothing happens yet. Like, it is separated, but we haven't added any rules. So if you look at task 2, in between the style tags, add the following CSS to set the rules for the first ID. Hashtag top, background color light pink. So if you just copy that, I've made it in this box so you can copy and paste it. Indent that just so it looks pretty. And it's saying everything in the div ID, sorry, the top ID, will have a light pink background, and will have brush script MT font family. That's the fancy kind of like cursive font. And so if we run that, there you can see cats for adoption, Jules the cat. And it was only meant to surround H1, H2. If you forget to do the div bit and you run it, as you can see, everything becomes that. So that's why it's important to, that's why it's important to have a closing tag. Right, the next task is surround all of the paragraph tags and the image of a new division like you did in task 1. So I would take a space if I was you actually, because it'll just keep you right. And we go div ID equals bottom, and then it's going to be underneath the image, You know what? I'm going to do it above the image just to show the difference for now. And then div ID equals bottom, and then set the bottom ID rules. So just like this, you go hashtag bottom, and then we want background color, and what's it say? Navy. I mean, I wrote it, I just can't remember it. No, sorry, it's just the color. That's navy. Color navy. Background color is pale green. Capitals don't really matter for the colors, and the font is Helvetica. Right, run that, and then you got a green box here. But if you look at lesson 6.1 finished, I want the green box to surround the cat. I know this page is quite hurtful on the eyes, but just roll with it for now. These are the colours I've picked. If you run that, uh-oh, what just happened? This is not good. Is it still there? I think I lost the very last bit. I think I lost the div, and I think that's it. Yeah. Right, and then now the image has green surrounding it. The other tasks are just very similar, so I'm not going to go over them line by line. I'll have a quick look at them for what you got to do. So this one, right, we've got dogs this time, and we've got ID, but we've also got, I believe, why am I looking in the wrong view? We've also got some classes, so you're going to be using them multiple times. That is how in this website you're able to use this box and this box twice, but this one is an ID, so it's only used once. The other task, this one's a little bit trickier. It's just loads of not IDs, there's loads of classes. So this is lesson 6.3. If you look at the finished one, well, it's going to look like, where is it to begin with? Again, no CSS, the page is done, it's quite a big page, and you need to make it look like this by just following the task step by step. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divisions, all classes used over and over again. And the last one is a bit harder, and it's just a bit of a vision of everything, not just the divisions, but seeing if you can make this page. Now I haven't made the page as advanced as maybe even the last one, so we've just got a bit of basic CSS with the colors at the background, and then we've got one class that we use twice to make it light pink, and then you have to center this text as well. But I write what to do step by step here. It looks like quite a lot, but if you follow it step by step, I'm sure you'll be fine. There is the YouTube video, you remember that hopefully from previous weeks. You just go into YouTube, find the share and embed button, and then there's the hyperlink. So if you look at, if you can't remember how to do that, look at week 2. Hopefully that makes sense. Remember the PowerPoint and kind of has like the cheat codes, like a cheat sheet that you can constantly reference. And it's really, if you do get a problem with this one, just keep checking that you've got hashtags matching with IDs, and that you've got dots matching with classes, because that's the most common mistake which even I still make. Right, I think this video might be a bit long. Thank you for watching. Right, bye.